Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the wonderful world of miking, recording, and locking in drums. Okay, before we can get started with all the fun technical stuff, there are a few things that you need to know. I need to introduce you to a drum kit. We need to know what each piece is called, and we're going to do that in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the very first thing you need to know about drums is that these metal things up here that you see, I'm highlighting them right now, they are called cymbals. Okay, these are cymbals. Some cymbals sound differently than others. We're going to talk about those, and we're going to listen to some of those as we go through this video series of videos. I know I said videos a couple of times. Okay, these drums right here all have different sounds to them, all of them. Okay, so let's start with the main drum in a kick come on, Mr. O. The main drum in a drum kit is going to be your kick drum. This is where all of your low end or your bass is going to come out of. If you've never heard a kick drum, go listen to a song, and there you go, you've listened to a kick drum. This drum right here is a snare drum. Snare drums are going to come in different sizes. They're not all going to sound the same. You're going to want to use some snares that sound a certain way for certain things and some snares for others. Not every snare is going to work for every recording, and eventually you'll have to change out your snares. These drums right here are called toms. Okay, more specifically, these two toms right here are called rack toms because they sit on a rack. If you look right here, they're attached to the kick drum. So these are called rack toms. They're on a rack. And then these toms down here are floor toms. Why, Mr. O? Well, because they are on the floor. You see that? They're on the floor. They're not racked to anything. They're not tied to anything. They're just on the floor. So they are floor toms, okay? This tom right here specifically is going to be Tom 1. When you label this, you're going to label it Tom 1 in a recording session. This is going to have a higher tone than the next tom, which is going to be Tom 2. This is Tom 2. Okay, let's go down to this tom. This is going to be Tom 3 or floor Tom 1. Me personally, if this were a recording session, I would be naming this floor tom 1 because there are more than one floor tom. And this would be floor tom 2. Now, depending on who the drummer is, he's probably going to tune these differently, but we're not worried about that. What we're worried about is naming. So Tom 1, Tom 2, floor tom 1, floor tom 2. This here is the hi-hat. This is the hi-hat. This is what a hi-hat looks like. In a recording session, I'm going to call this hi-hat, or I'm going to name it HH for hi-hat. Make sense? Good. These up here are your cymbals or your cymbals. Yeah, I don't know why I said or your, but these are your cymbals, okay? Not all cymbals sound alike. For instance, this here, this small cymbal, this is called a splash cymbal. Splash cymbals are usually small. This would be a crash cymbal. If you've got more than one crash cymbal, then obviously you want to name them crash 1, crash 2, whatever. But these cymbals would all be mic'd by overhead microphones, so you wouldn't need to name this crash or ride cymbal or crash 1 or China. This would just all go over the overhead microphones, which we'll talk about later. But this is a China cymbal. This is a ride cymbal. This is a second crash. Okay. Does that make sense? I hope so. Let's go over it one more time. Kick drum, snare, tom 1, tom 2, floor tom 1, floor tom 2, hi-hat, and overhead cymbals. There you go. You're going to be quizzed on this, so I suggest you don't just watch this and breeze through it. Take notes and get ready for the next video. Bye-bye.